Today I'm talking to Damian Ross. He's an agent with Gale Sotheby's of the Seacliff office in Seacliff, New York. What's really fun to talk to Damian about is that he's doing over 40 transactions a year. Last year he did 44, and he's doing this without an assistant. He's gotten awards such as Top 20 Under 40. He's going to talk to us. Well, let me pause, without an assistant. So what I really wanted to gain from him for everybody today, and he's going to tell us, is how he prioritizes, where his clients come from, his strategies, his philosophies of doing business, insights he's gained, and just how he does it. Thanks for listening to the Jere Metcalf Podcast, where top real estate agents tell how they do it. This podcast is to share knowledge for realtors and raise awareness for Give Back Homes, where real estate professionals work together for social good. Jet Centers Aviation, Bentley Atlanta, Legends Global, thank you for your sponsorship. All right, everybody, today we have Damian Ross with us from Long Island. He is a mega real estate agent at only 32 years old, already rocking it in this business. I'm going to let him elaborate on that and tell us all about yourself. And you've got to tell us all the good stuff. Like, just go ahead and feel like you're bragging, so everybody knows who we're listening to today.
Only the good.
All the good, and only we'll get into the bad stuff later. We got to get you comfortable first.
Okay, that sounds fair. So I'm on Long Island in New York. I've been doing real estate for a little over 8 years. In my early 30s now. And I went to school on Long Island. I was raised here in a small town on the north shore of Nassau County, Seacliff. And I just kind of fell into the business by chance. But it's been great to me. And I love the atmosphere. I love the fact that I can run my own business within a company. It's really great.
Awesome. And you say you ran into this business by chance. What was that story? What was the chance that made it happen?
I kind of had an interest in it, and so a friend of mine got me an interview with the manager just because I had come out of college. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I went.
Was this the manager at Sotheby's, or?
This was a Gale Sotheby's manager in my office at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, and so she brought me in. I spoke to her, and then I've been doing it ever since, really.
Wow, and so this has been your one and only job, right? So out of college.
My one and only adult.
Right. Your career. So it's the first and probably the last career. So how many years have you been doing this?
A little over 8.
Okay, great. So what is it? You're in such a competitive industry. Obviously you're with Sotheby's, which is a great company, and you've been doing this for a long time. But what do you think it is that makes you so much more successful? I mean, we're in a business where 95% of the people don't make it after 2 years. What do you think is your edge, or that makes you so successful in such a competitive industry?
I think a lot of it has to do with my personality and wanting to excel at something, and things that are challenging I kind of naturally gravitate towards because they take that much more time to master. But the industry appeals to me, working with people appeals to me. I think I'm a little different because I do a lot with technology. I relate to people really well, and I'm very organized, so I stay on top of a lot of my tasks, like mailing people and calling people and staying in touch and stuff like that. So I find without organization, it really gets difficult.
Just being consistent and disciplined is what the two words that come to mind when I think about what you do, and being good at it, which a lot of being good at what we do is just being consistent and disciplined, just being able to implement those things. What in this business, since you've come in, is what's been your biggest aha? We come into this business, a lot of people thinking it's an easy way to make money with a flexible schedule. As long as you can work 24/7 and call that flexible, go for it, right?
Yeah, it's flexible.
So what would you say is for you? What your biggest aha? There's so many to be had in this business, but what's been maybe even a recent one about this business of being successful, what our clients need, what we need to do to be successful or to have a balanced life?
I think, well, having a balanced life is definitely very important. It's easy to let this business kind of take control of your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
I think what's been important for me is to never kind of rest on your laurels and every year, excuse me, to kind of reinvent yourself and think about what you're doing right and then try and add new things and kind of adapt to the market always, whether it's, when it started out, the market had just crashed. That's when I started. So
What a great time. Actually, it was a great time, but go ahead. Yeah.
it was a great time to learn because it was not as busy as it is now, or it
Mm-hmm.
has been for the last few years. So for me, it was all about learning the background and then, transitioning from a buyer's market to a seller's market and
Mm-hmm.
learning the nuances to each market and how to deal with, buyers and sellers on both sides. So I took it as an opportunity when I learned.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And did you find kind of how quickly did your business get going? Did you find the recession to be a challenge, or were you able to work with were the problems of the recession opportunities for you?
Well, it took probably 3 or 4 years for me to actually start making what you would call an income.
Right.
But I took those beginning years as, an opportunity to take time and learn the
Mm-hmm.
background without thrown into it, which I think in the long run has helped me.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And how many transactions a year do you do? I know it's up there. How many
Uh,
did you do last year?
the last couple of years, it's been around 40 or so transaction size.
So at 40 something transactions a year, how do you, because you don't have an assistant or a team, is that right?
Right.
How do you do that? I mean, everybody's got not many people can do 40 something transactions a year without, of course, you got the great system and support of Sotheby's, but that's not an assistant. So how do you do it?
It's a lot of organization and prioritizing. Like I talked before about kind of reinventing every year. So this
Mm-hmm.
year, after meeting all of you guys at the one event, I figured it would be important to start implementing a CRM. So that's been my latest thing that I
So you
started.
did 44 transactions a year without a CRM. That's good. So
Without a
wait, let me rephrase that. How did you do 44 transactions without a CRM or an assistant? That might be talent, but there's got to be
Well,
something else to it.
I had other ways of keeping track,
Yeah.
spreadsheets, and which I guess is kind of the 2000s way of using note cards and
Right.
stuff like that. Because if I don't visually see it in front of me, then it becomes very
Yeah.
hard to keep track of.
Yeah, exactly. And that's true. Yeah.
In a
Yeah,
short amount
definitely.
of time with the CRM, I already see how it's made things easier, and I see how I could do more transactions. So it's just a lot of organization and keeping lists of everything and staying in touch with people and you
What
know.
what CRM did you decide to use? I'd love to know.
I signed up for Contactually,
How do you spell that?
Contactually.
Okay. So contactually. I've not heard
Yeah.
of that one. I have a CRM, but it's not sure it's the best. I'm in Google Docs right now. So until I find I'm back in
It's
the 2000s with you, except it is Google Docs at least, or Google Sheets.
okay.
Um, yeah, but
Well, mine
those are
traditionally,
spreadsheets on the internet.
yeah, traditionally spreadsheets.
Yeah, exactly. So contactually. Okay. Um,
That's what was recommended by our colleagues while we were there. So,
okay. Um, well, I had my CRM at the time, and now I'm re-exploring. So anyway, back to you and your success, and you're doing 44 transactions without a CRM. Now you've got a CRM and without an assistant. So you talk about prioritizing, being organized, staying in touch with people. To me, it sounds like there's only that's what we all need to do to be successful. So you must be really good at prioritizing. And do you have a system for that, or how do you figure out who to prioritize and what to prioritize? Because you've
I'm
got to get signs out, lock boxes up, all of that good stuff.
a lot of it has to do with being neurotic,
Do you sleep?
but I do have, uh, I do, but not well always.
Well, there we go.
um,
Yeah.
I have a lot of like to-do lists set up and projects and stuff, other software that I use to keep track of. Okay, when I take a new listing, what do I have to do? The photos and put the sign
Mm-hmm.
up and like I said, all that stuff, brochures, mailings, and it's kind of become, just second nature to know now what I have to do, but I still track even if I just write it down to make sure I did everything, to keeping track of appointments and follow up with interest and open houses, and it's endless, that.
Oh, yes, we all do. So walk us through a listing presentation with you. How do most of your listing presentations go? Do you just get more listings off of referrals, or do you do a formal presentation, and what do they look like?
I do a formal presentation no matter who it is, even if it's a friend of mine, because you never
Very
know,
smart. Yeah.
where someone's mindset is, and you want to impress people, even if they know you. You want them to see the value in what you're doing. So, where did they come from? Ultimately the goal, of course, is referral business, but it's just recently been referrals, a lot of expired listings, my sphere, people that I know. I mean, when I started out, I was young. I didn't really know anyone, so I kind of started with my high school yearbook and just went piece by piece through that and started putting everyone or their parents on a mailing list. So that's kind of how I got the ball rolling. Open houses are a great source of leads, I find. But then again, it's staying on top of it and turning them into customers, which I think the CRM has helped a lot with, because it's like that automatic assistant that you don't have.
Exactly. The CRM, are you using that to do emails, or just to kind of overview who your leads are and when to call them and all of that good stuff, or for both?
Both. I'm kind of feeling my way through it. I find it's a great way to as a reminder, like, oh, by the way, you haven't spoken to this person in 7 days, follow up with them. But you can email them, or if it's a text or a phone call, whatever it is. I find it's helpful.
And it sounds like you do mailings, and do you do e-blasts as well?
I do, yeah. We use Resora, so we send out, I like to send out informational pieces so that people look at them.
Okay.
Market reports
And I still haven't gotten you to walk us through your listing presentation. So somebody calls you up, know him, don't know him, you're going to do a listing presentation. How does that, do you have from the phone call to signing the listing agreement, what's the process that you go through?
Well, when I first speak to them, I kind of get the basic background information, where they live, what they're looking to do, how they got my information if I don't know who they are. And then I always kind of go through the same routine. I print all the background information I can before going, listings that have sold in that area, the public record, any past listings if it wasn't expired, just for informational purposes. And then I usually do a two-step. So I go and meet them at the house, take all my notes, find out everything I can about the house, and then I go back to my office and I tell them I'm going to prepare a formal market report for you with all the comps. And I usually like to have them come the second time and come to the office so I could sit down with them and show them everything in the conference room.
Great. So you do one visit to the house, get to know them, look at the house, take all your notes, then back to the office, and appointment number 2 is at the office.
Right.
I like that. Do you ever have somebody say, go ahead.
No, I like to be on home turf when I have appointment number 2.
Smart. And do you ever have somebody say, I don't need to go to your office, I don't want to go to your office, or do they usually welcome the invitation?
Usually they come. I would say maybe 1 out of 10 times they want me to come back to the house, or if it's executors or someone who's out of state, I could always email them the presentation. So, but more often than not, they'll come back.
And when they don't want to come, you just go back to the house, or do y'all finish it up over a conference call? Or it sounds like you usually go back to the house if that situation arises.
Yeah, my strongest preference is to do it in person. But if I don't have that opportunity, it'll be an email or something like that.
Okay, great. So I'd love to always hear everybody's got a little bit of a different format to do it. And do you have any, pre-listing package that you send, or do you wait until you meet them and then really have all the really good data on that last meeting at the office?
I've been waiting until I meet them, but like I talked before about the evolution of everything and putting a pre-listing package together. I know we spoke while we were on the conference together about the Evoker videos, so that's something I'm going to be doing coming next month and the month after. I plan on sending that out kind of as a pre-listing.
Make sure you send that to us, and we'll send it out in social media and all of that good stuff, and we'll create a page for you for this podcast interview and make sure it gets posted there too. So
okay, cool.
Cool. Um, what in your business, coming into this business, has been your biggest, and if did I already ask you about your biggest aha? Yeah,
Yeah.
I did too.
Yeah.
Edit all that out,
That's
Isaac.
okay.
I've asked that question 5 times today now, so I can't remember. Anyway, um, let's see. What am I going to ask you next? All right? So, do you have any stories about, um, in this business, things you'll lose a listing and it looks like a failure and you don't get it. And then you get it the second time around and sell it in 2 days. And it's like, oh, thank goodness that's the way it went down. Or that's just a little quick story. Do you have any examples of failures that felt like failures in the beginning that turned into successes, or failures that have happened that you've learned big lessons from and made yourself even more successful through the years that you could share with us?
My very first listing that I ever had was a disaster inside. It was a wreck. There were like 12 people living in a house for 3 people. Dogs and filth and stuff falling apart, water damage. And so we tried to sell it. We brought them offer after offer. They weren't accepted,
Wow.
and all the offers fell into the same range. And so when it came time that the listing expired and we thought about renewing it, we kind of let it go. And I say we because at the time I had a co-listing agent on the property.
Mm-hmm.
So we let that go, and they were in financial distress. So the next week, the fire marshal knocked on their door and said, "You have to get out." And so they had relisted with another broker, and that broker sold it within like the first week after we had it for about 6 months.
Wow. Yeah.
So that was that was my first lesson, my first listing and my first lesson, and it kind of taught me about, you don't always get the luck of the draw. Some listings sell very easily, some take a long time, and some clients are very difficult. And I welcome the challenge, but at the same time, you look for clients that are realistic about selling, and sometimes they're difficult and they're not really realistic about selling. And so I've let clients go where I said, my time would be better served serving 2 or 3 other clients as opposed to using all my time up on this one listing that the seller's not even there. But it doesn't have to be a seller. I mean, I've had buyers too. I showed buyers, similar story. I showed buyers listings for like 3 years in all different areas, and they didn't know where they wanted to be. And it came a point where I said, this is just taking up too much of my time. It's not worth it anymore.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to make the sale to make up for all the time, but at this point I was just cutting my losses. So I cut them loose, and they did wind up buying something shortly thereafter. But, I learned that sometimes if people's expectations are not realistic, you kind of have to either set them straight, or if they're not getting it, maybe the relationship's not supposed to last.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. Well, it sounds like you just, know when to cut your losses and let go and just focus on, even though, we all have bad things happen in this business, it's focusing on what you've got now, who you can really help, and making sure you're putting the time into the people that you can help and giving them the best of you that are going to appreciate it and deliver on it. What is one thing coming into this business that this is kind of the aha question, but it's kind of not, because it's what do you wish when you came into this? What do you know now that you wish you knew when you came into this business?
That's a good question.
So many things, right?
Yeah. I wish that then I would say I wasn't so afraid, maybe, because being young, even if you're not young and you're just new to the business, you're intimidated to make the phone call if you're not comfortable with it, or, contact someone from an open house that you're thinking probably doesn't want to be contacted. I mean, I've learned to just, when in doubt, jump and go for it.
Yeah,
and
I love
that's
that.
something that takes a long time to get comfortable with, but being new, it definitely took me a long time to get comfortable there.
When in doubt, jump and go for it. So that's quote. Love that. Isaac, I hope you got that. I'm always picking on Isaac. Nobody can hear Isaac. It's like I've got Isaac and I are laughing together now.
But I love that because I think people see somebody like you, you're doing 40 something transactions a year without an assistant. I mean, I can't even imagine what you could do with a team. It'd be exponential. But in sometimes, oh, well, he's special or he just has no fear or he's crazy. But you've got all this. It's not whether you have the fear or whether you have it or not. It's whether you do it or not, whether you take action despite the fact that you may not feel like being rejected today, but just pushing through it and doing it because the only way you're going to get results is to execute.
Right.
So in your business, if you had to do it all over again, go back 8 years, or maybe even start now, depending on how you want to answer this question, you can answer it like a politician. You can take it and spin it and answer how you want to give us some good information. But let's say you're starting all over. You've got $500 and you're going to restart today. What would you do?
Well, where would I spend the $500?
Where would you spend the $500? You're no connections. You don't know anybody. You don't know your market. You just hop in. You've got $500 and you've got to hit the ground running. What are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with your money and your time?
I would say I would use the $500 on branding myself the best I can and using a lot of what's free, social media, and stuff like that to develop a personality and just get in front of people and get them to know you. I think that's the key. I mean, at this point now, people who I've never met before sometimes see me and they say, "Oh, I know you," because they see my picture and I look like a picture.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which isn't always common in our business, but that's another. Yeah, that's great though. Well, yeah, no. But to be in this industry and to work hard and to do that, to go out and see people and they know you because of the one-on-one. But anyway, back to my question, but back to your answer about what would you do with that $500? So social media, that's free. Get out and network. That doesn't cost. So we don't even need money. I mean, that was just a great point. Really connect, whether it's social media, meet people, whatever, get out there and do it and talk to people. Anything else you would do, or anything else you would say, this is what I'd do with $500 to make it in this business? If I had to start over today?
I would be more open to networking and meeting people because I think that definitely opens doors. When I was younger and less experienced, I didn't see that as much, and I thought, well, I don't really want to get involved in this, and talking to people in my field, how's that going to bring me business? But it's good, and it kind of almost you have to welcome the lifestyle, I would say.
It is a lifestyle, yes.
Meeting people, if you're so clearly focused just on doing deals, not only does that not open up new doors, but it kind of limits your scope and is not, I don't want to say depressing, but there's so much more to it, so much more fun to be had.
Oh, it's so much to learn from our colleagues. And, I was talking to somebody earlier about everybody talks about this as a cutthroat business, but it's what you put into it. You could see it that way, or you can see in this business, I find real estate agents to be the most generous, giving, creative, fun, awesome people, because that's kind of the nature of what you've got to be in this business to make it and be successful. That's what I love about it. So, what is your favorite tool, whether it's a CRM or an app, or anything, or your cell phone? That might be it. But what's your favorite tool on this? Maybe accept that. What's your favorite tool in being a residential real estate agent to be successful?
Yeah, I would say cut the cell phone out of it because that's probably
it. Yeah.
My favorite tool would be, can I say technology as a whole? Just
no. Maybe, but we got to get better than that.
You want to hone in on
we know you like technology, but let's hone in on what's a good example? Like some people, a great example is I just did an interview with Ben Bacall, and he's got a new app called Roof Shoot. But you don't know what that is yet. But I'll be sending you information on that about how to do videos on your phone without, so that you can get more media and content and all that good stuff. Or Top Producer, or your favorite CRM, or maybe we have to go back to your phone or your website or email, but that's not really, anyway.
Well, I would say that the CRM thing is new to me, so I won't say that because I only have limited experience with, but probably, text, because it's such an easy way to get in touch with people, and everybody's so eager for information on the spot nowadays. It's just such an easy way to keep in touch with people. You have everything in writing if there's ever a question.
You're right. Yeah.
I'm sure your clients text you at late at night and early in the morning sometimes.
That may make it not our favorite.
Yeah, but it's easy just to get back and even if you're in a meeting and someone contacts you.
Exactly. Well, and I think the point to that, something that speaks to me in your answer is a lot about our business is being approachable, being available. I mean, and being available, and even if there are times we need to shut down for a minute. So if we are shutting down and we aren't available in text, this is back to, we may change your ways after today, but what do you do? Because having an assistant to be available when you're not, or having a team or having some systems in place to be available. But more importantly, all of that said is in some form or fashion, and text as an example, is in our business is we've got to be accessible and available to our clients, because I do find a lot, the successful agents are just that. They're available and accessible. So, and text definitely does that for us.
Yes, absolutely. It just makes it so easy for someone to shoot off, and
to check back with people for us as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it takes a lot of the formality out of it that makes people more comfortable. You text an agent, like if they answer you, it's almost like texting your friend, because once they get to know you, they're more comfortable shooting you a question.
Very true. Yeah, that's a great point in all of this. What is, if you could look at the you on your first day or your first year of real estate and the you now 8 years later, what would you say is the thing about you that's changed the most, or that you've learned to make yourself even more successful now? I came in this business, I kind of didn't realize the importance, kind of what you said on the other agents. I didn't understand why that's the competition. And now I think completely differently about that. I'm like, that is my industry. Like, that is they're my allies. They're another form of a client. Other real estate agents are. So what for you would that be from who you were then, and or maybe it's the networking, but I'd love to hear an example of what the picture of you was then and now, and the biggest difference.
I would say it's definitely confidence. When you start and you don't have any deals under your belt, there's the old fake it till you make it kind of idiom, but you can't fake confidence until you've done transactions and, lived through it and know what it's like firsthand, and solved problems and dealt with difficult clients. So that's just, I don't think there's any substitute for time and experience to get that confidence, but I definitely think that's the difference between when I started and now. And I think that buyers and sellers are attracted to people with confidence, because you just know that the person knows what they're doing.
Yeah, that's so true. This is a question I'd love to know, and I haven't figured out whether to put this question into one or two, but I want to know who, and you go to a few conferences, especially just like our SIR, is it GNE, SIR, SI, whatever, general, how do we do that? SIR, GNE, or GNE, SIR? Our global networking event.
Yeah, I always just hear it referred to as, I'm not sure.
It's 6, well, anyway, but who is your favorite speaker? And it doesn't have to be real estate. It could be like Tony Robbins or, Barbara Corcoran, or...
I'm open to all the motivational speakers, and I like Tony Robbins, and I like Tom Ferry.
You've got to pick one. Who's your one?
Well, I really enjoyed when we were at the One Summit listening to Bill Pipes. I thought he was great, and maybe just because I was sitting in the first row and I interacted with him personally, but
he was very engaging and eye-opening. Really made you shift your mindset. I think he's with, is it Tom Ferry?
He's with Tom Ferry.
Or is it Mike Ferry? Tom Ferry?
Tom Ferry.
It's Tom Ferry. Okay, thank you. Thank goodness I've got you here to help keep me straight on all of this. So, and the other one is the book. What is if there's one book you could say really has impacted your mindset and your business and your life, what book would that be?
There was a book I read way back when, but I can't remember the name, so I can't speak to it too much. It was a young entrepreneur about just being in business in general. It wasn't real estate related. But I did read the Barbara Corcoran book about how she started her
book.
business.
Yeah.
So my manager gave me that when I was younger, and she handed me this book. And if you know the title of the book, I looked at it and I was like,
everything I learned in real estate, I learned everything I need to know in business. I learned from my mom, or something like that. Was the name of it? I'm sure she has more than one book, but this was if you don't have big boobs, tie pigtails in your hair. That was the name of the book. Oh, okay. I've got 3 of them. I think I've got that one.
Yeah.
So why that book? What'd you get out of it? Because you don't have pigtails or big boobs or any of that.
No, that didn't really help me there, but it did help me because she talks about being new and inexperienced and not knowing what to say. And in the beginning, she did jump a lot, and she took like the step that you'd be afraid to take if you didn't know what to do, which I think is what's attributed to her success.
Mm-hmm.
From turning a nothing company into this multi-billion-dollar real estate company that everybody knows about. But she kind of just went for it. Like when you don't know what to do and you're afraid, just go for it, because obviously if you don't, you're not going to have any new opportunities. Exactly. So I think that's kind of from that book.
Awesome. I love that. All right, so I've got one last question for you.
Sure.
What is the one thing that you, from this interview, that you hope or that you would want all of our listeners to take with them if they don't take anything else?
I want them to know that, you don't have to have all these connections. You don't have to be the tech savvy person in your office. You can start from anywhere, but if you give it a good, honest effort and you keep doing it, even when it doesn't seem like it's happening, because even to us experienced agents, it's this up and down thing, that anyone can do it. If you put forth your honest, sincerest attempt, don't be about the dollars, because the dollars will come, and it's all about being in a business with people, which is why I like it so much.
Yeah.
It's about helping, and at the end of the day, I think people really appreciate that.
Awesome. Love it. Damian, thank you so much. That was awesome. Talk about concise, good, solid advice and information. Oh, last thing. Give us your name. Well, we know your name. Give us your number and your website.
Sure. So my number is 516-369-5868 is my cell. And my website is my name, Damian Ross, DamianRoss.net. Or you could also go to damianross.danielgale.com.
Awesome. And we're going to have this podcast on damianross.jeremetcalf.com as soon as we release. So I'll share that page with you as well, and with everybody else. And thanks so much for being on with us.